Consultants. This is Annalee Cate here, joining you guys for this week's Route Consultant webinar. I'm super excited to have all of you here and be here. I have not been on a webinar in a while, so for those of you that are here for the first time, I'm very excited that you were able to join us today. For those of you that are repeat offenders, long time no see, but I'm very excited to be here this week to talk to you about a really fun topic. Before we get started, I'm going to do a quick disclaimer. So Route Consultant is not endorsed by and is not recommended by Federal Express Corporation, FedEx Ground, or Amazon. Route Consultant is not sponsored by, is not approved by, and is not associated with and has no connection whatsoever with Federal Express Corporation, FedEx Ground, or Amazon. All that means is that you're not going to be receiving any materially non-public information here today, but we do hope that you will receive materially helpful information here today. So as we get started this week, again, very excited to be bringing you some fresh baked content. I promise I'll try not to be too punny, but I have some puns up my sleeve for this week's topic. We are going to be talking about bread routes. For those of you that were able to join us at the expo this year, you heard a little teaser on bread content. And for those of you that are, again, here for the first time, this is something Route Consultant's been working on for a while in identifying some new opportunities for FedEx contractors or prospective investors that might want to diversify into other segments that have a lot of the pros and the similarities of FedEx routes, and also offer some new and unique things as well. So again, really excited to be covering that. Before we jump into content this week, I wanted to give you guys a couple quick highlights and reminders. The first one on upcoming events where you can see us in Phoenix. We're going to be there on October 18th. Check out the link for that on our website. We've got a happy hour there for prospective investors and current contractors. We also have an upcoming in-person summit next week, October 9th and 10th. So feel free to join us at that. We're going to be dropping the link to these events as well in the chat feature. So if you have questions on that event, feel free to check that out. And then we also have our Expo 2024 that is already live for registration. So feel free to go ahead and book a room, register, and sign up for Expo 2024. We're going to be in Dallas next summer. Really excited about that and have a lot of fun things planned for that as well. We are going to talk about new listings. I'm going to start with new FedEx listings hitting the market. We've got Southern New Hampshire, 9 P&D routes listed at $550. In Northern Ohio, we had 9 P&D routes as well, listed at $750. On the line haul side, in the New England area, we've got 7 line haul runs listed at $2.1 million. And in Northeastern New Jersey, we've got 14 line haul runs listed at $2.5 million. And as an exciting addition and something that new that you guys start seeing on our websites and in our content is we have officially bread listings hitting the website today. The first one is going to be in Central New Hampshire. It's a one route operation with 9 customer accounts. Again, we're going to do Q&A today and dig into some of what these words mean. But the list price on the Central New Hampshire opportunity is $250,000. And lastly, we've got North Carolina hitting the market today. It's a one route with 19 accounts, and that one's listed at $285,000. So if you have questions on those, again, you'll be able to see the link in the chat here down below. And you also can email into our team. You can do a general inquiry on the website or email William Howard at william.howard@routeconsultant.com. He is our official breadwinner and bread broker here inside of Route Consultant. So he would be able to help and answer the questions that you guys had. So really excited again to be diving in. I've got a special guest joining me today that I'm excited to bring on, and we'll start with a little bit of his story. And then really what we're going to be covering is the pros and cons of the bread route space, give you that general opener like you're used to, but don't worry, we're going to make sure to leave that last 30 minutes for open Q&A. We are also going to bring back a little bit of a hallmark Route Consultant webinar attribute. I was not willing to do a webinar without this feature. So we are going to be doing a question of the day today. So again, for those of you that might be joining us for the first time, there are some house rules here at Route Consultant that if you're going to be on our webinar and you want to ask a question, we would love to answer that question and engage with you. But in order to ask a question, you also have to answer a question. So the question of the day today is going to be, when you go to the grocery store, what kind of bread do you buy? So really excited for that. So as you guys get ready to answer and ask questions, if you will use the Q&A button down below, not the chat feature, I'm going to be monitoring that Q&A button so that I can see the questions as they come in. So I'll be looking for your answers to what kind of bread you buy when you go to the grocery store. And then I'll answer that question, whatever question you submitted in addition to that. So very excited. Again, I'm going to go ahead and introduce my co-host for the day. I've got Mr. Chris Mateo joining us. Chris, we're so excited to have you. Chris is our resident bread expert and just an amazing friend and a great partner for our organization. We're really excited to bring him to the group. So Chris, tell us a little bit about your story, and then let's just go slice by slice through this. I don't know.
Not slide by slide, slice by slice. I love it. So what's going on, family? My name is Chris Mateo, and I am super excited and thankful to be here with you guys today and be able to educate you a little bit on something that's been my life's journey and my life's work with my family. Doing this for the last 20 years with my dad, growing our businesses from 1 route to 5 routes, changing it up, buying, selling, flipping, figuring out this whole business and the good times, the bad times. I'm going to give you guys all of my journey, all of the stories that we've gone through, and just how we got here. How are we here today? How are we able to work with Route Consultant? How are we able to see a vision of what could become of what we're doing in this entire space? Because we're really looking to innovate and revolutionize this entire marketplace. So I'm just super excited to be a part of it, to be a part of such an amazing company at Route Consultant, and be able to give you guys more insight on something that most people don't talk about. Most people don't know anything about. They don't even know that you can make money doing this. So the fact that we're going to educate you guys and really open your eyes to an entire back-end opportunity of money-making activities, this is the part that excites me, because I remember, being in the stores with my dad, and everyone thinks we're employees. Everyone thinks we're employed by Walmart, but they don't know we're making more money than the Walmart managers. We're making more money than the owners that are sitting there, dividing these things up. We make money because we're owners, we're investors. We actually make money off of every sale that goes through that Walmart for that bread product, that type. And that's something that is so freeing to know that it doesn't matter if I sell or not. Walmart is still going to sell that bread. It doesn't matter if my dad's waking up or not. That bread is still going to be sold. So I want everyone to know that it is possible. I'm a living testament of what is possible when you actually work this. It's not an easy job. It's not something you're going to wake up and it's going to be 9 to 5 at the office. Hell no, it's not that. But it is something that's going to be able to put food on the table for you and your family and allow you guys to gain more assets and eventually be able to retire yourself and have other people in play to actually run that business for you. So that's what I'm excited to get into. Annalee, anything you want to touch on before I get into it?
No, I think that's great. Thanks for the intro. And like I said, we're going to really be trying to specifically, since we only have a little bit of time, talk about, hey, what are the big challenges in the bread space? And then, what are the pros of why somebody should really consider this space as either a first-time entrepreneurial venture or a diversification from an existing entrepreneurial venture. And then, like I said, we'll leave time for Q&A. But Chris, take us through, where do you want to start first, pros or cons?
So I like to eat my veggies first. So we're going to start with the cons. What are the cons? What are the problems? All right. I like to eat my vegetables and know this is the worst it's going to get. And then after that, we're going to go into the dessert. How we going to make some more money? How we going to keep growing and making more money with it? So let's start into the cons of bread routes, right? So one of the first and biggest headaches that myself, my dad, and all the other people that we've worked with in this space face is employee problems. If you guys are in the FedEx space, if you're in any business, one of the biggest problems in business is going to be employees, right? The right training, the right confidence and ability to lead that business or that department or that specific position. All of those are going to be things that we worry about. So I'm going to go into a few of the specific things that we notice that are problems when it comes to employees. Step one is going to be poaching employees is common in this space. So this is huge. I got a great employee. He's killing it for me. He's been working for me for a year. I spent all the money to train him. I spent all the time to make sure that he knows how to grow this route, how to grow this business. And now here comes along the guy who's doing the route right next to me and says, hey, buddy, I'll offer you an extra $100 a week. Boom. I just lost my employee, the one that I just trained for a year, the one that just got to the point of being left alone and being able to run this route. Now I got to go and find a new guy. Now I got to go and figure out what I'm going to do next. And now I'm wasting money and I'm losing that opportunity. So poaching employees is huge. So how do we combat those things? You got to treat those employees good. You got to give them bonuses. You got to give them incentives, vacations, all of these different things to make it worth it for them to work for you and not these other guys. The way we like to do that is we actually try to plan out, how are we going to work together, not only today, not only you as a worker, but how can we get you into owning your own truck, owning your own route? We like to build that vision for them so they can see themselves becoming a partner with us in the long haul. So that's step one right there with the employee problem. Step two is going to be scheduling vacation time is challenging. So when you're running these routes and these businesses, if these drivers are doing this every single time for you, now they've gotten into a rhythm and it's very difficult to break that rhythm up. If a vacation comes a week, they have to take off, 2 weeks, they have to take off. Someone who's not used to running a route doesn't know how to keep up that same pace. You can have a huge slump in numbers. We don't want that. We don't want that. We want to be able to make sure we're keeping track of these numbers and planning out the vacation times. So now it's not a stressful situation for the owner who has to figure out how to cover this vacation. And it's not a stressful time for the employee who's trying to have a good time with their family. They don't want to be stressed about what's going on in the bread route while they're on vacation. So we try to mitigate that by being way ahead on knowing when our vacations are coming, having the right personnel ready to go for when that person's going to go on vacation, as well as if that person hasn't been trained on that specific route and they're going to be doing that vacation, then we might have them go out a week ahead and actually practice and see how the route is supposed to be ran, how each stop is supposed to be delivered to. So these are just simple tips and tricks to help mitigate that scheduling vacation time situation. The next piece we got is overnight/early morning operations. So this is a 2 a.m. in the morning to 2 p.m. in the afternoon working hours of operations as far as we work. So obviously, everyone is not meant for the graveyard shift. Obviously, everyone doesn't want to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock in the morning, have to drive places, lift heavy things, be in hot weather, be in rainy weather, all these things are situations just like in the FedEx space that we face. Like, it's difficult to get people that want to go through that. You get what I'm saying? So how do we actually make it make sense? Well, hey, if you finish early, you get to finish early. So if you come in at 2, but you're done at 6, you get the rest of your day to do whatever you want. So these are the ways we incentivize them to actually get the job done quicker and earlier, because that's going to give them time to go pick up their kids from school, go hang out with their family afterwards. So these are the type of things we try to incentivize and make their days more balanced and easier so that they can actually be able to go and enjoy themselves and still be able to get the errands done that they have to do, still be able to run a regular life, even though they're living this, graveyard shift type of job. We want to still make it as normal as possible for them to operate in the regular 9-to-5 world, if that makes sense. So that's for that piece. Next part is cash stops. So driver handles cash and deposits into the bank, harder to track. So this is very important because we do a lot of big box stores like Walmart, Publix, Kroger's, those type of things. But then when you're talking about cash stops, the delis, the regular mom and pop stores that are in your local region, they're going to be paying you hand out of pocket cash, $100 for 100 loaves, whatever that deal would be that you have with them. When they're paying the driver that money, the driver does have the ability to pocket some of that money. They can put some more returns on it. They can steal from you and or the bakery some type of cash profits if you're not paying attention to your numbers. If you don't know how to read the numbers, if you don't know what the average sale and the average return for that store is, now you can end up getting played or getting robbed by your own employee. So these are very important things to look at and to keep track of all those numbers so you can actually know what's the usual numbers should look like. And when something is different, you should be able to identify that and actually, bring attention to it. So the last piece from the employee standpoint is going to be hiring a driver that can cut into profitability. Some drivers appear to be paid under the table. So when you're hiring a driver, we're trying to get the best type of driver, meaning we want this driver to not only look at this as a job, but look at this as a career and as a partnership opportunity for the long haul. So we're looking for people that are willing to go the extra mile, because this isn't a 9-to-5 situation where, hey, you coming in, you're pushing some papers and you're out and you're going to get paid the same every single day. No, we get paid by the amount of product we push. If we're not pushing product, we're not making money. So if they're not pushing product, they're not making money. So we like to incentivize and align ourselves with the proper employees that have that extra go the extra mile mentality. What do I need to do to get more results? What do I need to do to get more sales? So when I'm out on a route, it don't matter if it's my route, my dad's route, or someone else's route. I am going to go the extra mile to get that placement, to get an extra shelving in that store, to do something extra where I can make us a little bit more money. Because if I can make us an extra $100, it might be just $100 this first time I'm doing it. But now, remember, this is recurring revenue. That's $100 next week. That's $100 the week after. That's $100 the week after. Every month, that's $400 that I'm putting in my pocket. So the drivers that are able to push those small numbers up are the ones that you really want to keep, because they're going to help you raise the profitability of the business. Okay. So that's something that we're always looking for in drivers is, are they willing to go the extra mile? If we told them, hey, your day is from 2 a.m. to 2 p.m., but they have this one last store that they got to do at 2 p.m. and they decide to not do that store because they want to go home, that might not be the best driver to run that route, because they're not ready to be committed for what it takes. There's a difference between, hey, I'm willing to do the job and I'm willing to do what it takes to get the job done right. We're always looking for that employee that's willing to do what it takes to get the job done right. So that's going to be the first level of cons, bread route, employee problems. Annalee, do you want me to stop there? You want to talk a little bit before I keep going? There's a lot. So
that's great. Yeah, that was great. I mean, and the thing that I just want to iterate with that is, as we've been looking at this space, right? Anybody that's on this webinar coming from the FedEx space knows most of this stuff is not new for us, right? So these are things that I want you guys to see the similarity in the spaces, to see how applicable the skills and the knowledge and the war stories you've acquired in the FedEx space, do apply to the bread space. But that's really it on the employee problems piece, Chris.
Okay, perfect. So let's go into the next con right here, which is going to be bakery challenges. So you're going to be working with these big bakeries, Bimbo Bakery, Martin's, Pepperidge Farm. All of these they used to be family-owned bakeries, and now they've been bought out by these big mega corporations. And you're dealing with behemoths of corporations, which we're the little guys, we're the independents. So it's not like we're going to get their attention very easily. Let's just say it that way. So you have to deal with guys. So I know you guys deal with some similar stuff like that within the FedEx space. So some of the things like dealing with the bread companies like Bimbo, you can buy back a bread line if it becomes a high demand item. So meaning if I'm selling a product, let's say, for example, Takis, right? Takis is one of the items that we sell under the Bimbo route brands. If I'm selling this product and Bimbo, the corporate company, the bakery, decides that Takis has enough volume to do its own route, they might buy that back from me. So that's kind of a downfall and a con for us, because that could have been a very big revenue driver for our route. That could have been a huge opportunity as far as growth for our route. So it kind of hinders our growth opportunities sometimes if they're taking away some of these big players. But the good news is they don't do this often. They do it for standalone brands that they're actually planning to make nationally known and globally aware. So it's a good and a bad, because the good news is they're going to blow that brand up even bigger. They're going to make more money opportunities for everyone in the space. So we'll still probably be able to make some cash flows from that down the line. But on a short-term level, we're losing that immediate cash flow. And that's where it could hurt us a little bit on the pocket side, right? And then next is also no parking at the depots. So for example, in the FedEx space, you guys can park at the terminals. You guys can leave your vehicles there. Because we're independent contractors, they're expecting us to find our own parking facilities, our own situations. So we can't really bring our stuff there. Now, some depots, if you have a relationship, you have multiple routes, things like that, then you might be able to work something out. But on the general, for across the country, you're not going to be able to park an independent truck on private commercial property from the bakery standpoint. So there's just two things to think about. From a parking lot perspective, I think we pay anywhere from $100 to $200 for our parking spots a month. Nothing big, something easy for you guys to handle. And then from the bread company side, is about also voicing your opinion and talking to the general managers and the people that are there to facilitate with the independents. We also voice our opinions to them. Hey, the bread is not coming the way we need it, or sometimes the bakery will cut items. So, hey, I ordered 100 loaves, but this day they only brought in 50. So those are situations where we would actually speak to the general managers and the head big bosses and explain to them, we can't continue to have these type of problems. What are we doing to mitigate these problems and actually, get us the product that we need, because our customers are waiting for it. So it's a very much a partnership, as far as we can tell them what we like and we don't like. It's not like, a parent and a child situation. We're both at the same level, as far as we paid a lot of money to be at the table here. They got to listen and respect what we got to say as well. So it's a very good, conversation as far as back and forth. So that's from the bakery and that side of stuff. Next, we're going to go into administrative challenges. So this is first starting off with tracking and ordering the correct amount of product to deliver is critical. You can't order too much or too little. So this is very important, because the bakery and the corporate company is going to give you an average amount of product that you should be ordering. So that could be anywhere from 1,000 to 3,000 pieces of bread per week that you're ordering. What that comes out to in money is around $10,000 a week that you're selling. So you're selling $10,000 worth of volume of product every single week. Now, the reason this is important is because if you're mistracking this data, if you're ordering, let's just say, for example, this week it's telling me that the computers are giving me averages based on what I sold last week as well as what I sold last year. So it's giving me a cumulative model saying last week we sold about 1,000 loaves out of this store. Last year we sold about 1,500 loaves out of the store. So you should give it today 1,200 loaves. Let's just use that as an example. Now, if I'm not aware and I'm not an astute employee, I wouldn't know how to actually make more money in this situation, or take out more products so I don't lose money in the situation. So the tracking and the ordering helps with understanding what to do in a certain situation, because this week might be different than last week. Last week, it could have rained. And that means I sold a lot less product last week because it rained and there wasn't people going out. This week, it's beautiful and sunny and everybody's doing a barbecue. So this week, I might sell out of buns. So if I don't understand what's going on in my local market, the weather, the activities, the sales that are happening in that local market, I won't know how to order properly. I won't know how to sell properly. So the ordering part is going to be one of the biggest pieces when it comes to leverage how you growing that business. If you know how to order properly, 10 times out of 10, you'll be able to grow the route a lot faster than someone who doesn't know how to order the bread properly. That's how me and my dad have been able to stay out of the trucks and been able to continue to grow the business from afar, because we focus all of our energy on optimizing the orders. If we can optimize these orders correctly, then what the guys are doing on the ground level is just going to be a reflection of what we're doing on the higher level. Okay. So that's for the administrative side. The next piece is going to be, there are a few softwares being used to assist with efficiency. So this is an old school market, guys. I want you guys to be prepared. This is, if the light goes out, the electric goes out, don't worry. We don't have too much technology. You're still going to be able to do your job. It's called paper receipts if you need it, okay? They're ready for that. So this is a very, very old industry. It's been around. Bread has been around since Jesus, guys. So I don't know who was doing the delivery of that at that point, but there was bread around during Jesus's time. So it's been a long time that this has been around. So they have one handheld computer. They just updated this after 30 years, literally 30 years. They just updated it last year. So we got a brand new computer, but when I say brand new, it's still 10 years old. But it's still brand new to this world, okay? So because the computers we were using for the last 20 years were from literally the 80s and 90s. Like, I'm talking about big brick old computers. You couldn't really do too much with it. So now it's an amazing experience. You got like an Android cell phone type of device that has the app on there. It connects to your printer, and then your printer, you're just printing out your invoices and receipts. Pretty simple. So when you're going in there, if I'm going into a store, I'm scanning the product. I'm giving them 100 white loaves. I'm giving them 50 wheat, 50 honey. I'm scanning those. I'm putting it into the computer, and then it prints out the receipt. I give it to my client. They pay me right there if it's a cash stop, or if not, they'll send me a check at the end of the week. Boom. Very simple. So when it comes to software, when it comes to technology, you don't need to be a tech wizard. You don't need to have any special degrees. I mean, this is as cut and dry as entering the number of pieces you're putting on the shelf. That's it. And the next piece is going to be operating under your own DOT number. So a very big difference between the FedEx space and the bread route space is that in the FedEx space, you guys are operating under the DOT number of FedEx. So they're actually doing the litigation for you, fighting for you guys, protecting you guys, making sure that the safety standards are super extremely high up there for you guys. That's not the way it works for us on the bread side. We are completely independent. That DOT number is on us, and everything from a safety perspective, from a lawsuit perspective, it's on your own business and your own responsibility to have that insured, have that taken care of, and making sure that your staff or employees are hitting all those safety requirements. I'm going to take a second there. Annalee, talk to me.
Yeah, that's perfect. So a couple different things there that, again, slightly different on the DOT number piece. One, I want to take a minute to, and just before, Chris, you jump into the pros, I'm going to just give you all a quick highlight in terms of getting started, pros and cons in this space, just to set some of the framework there. And then I'll transition over to Chris to wrap it up on the pros of the bread space, and then we'll move into that Q&A. So feel free to go ahead and start loading any bread-related questions you guys have into the Q&A feature. But as far as getting started, some things to just make you guys aware of, it's really like in the bread space, traveling back, 20 years in the FedEx space. And so it's a lot of the things that we saw in the early days with Route Consultant as well, in terms of getting started. If you're looking at acquiring a bread business, right, the documentation and the business savvy in terms of setting up, efficient tracking systems and things like that is not super typical or commonplace in the bread space. So you are going to have challenges with getting, certainly 3 years of CPA audited financials is not a high probability in the bread space, but there are ways to really verify the revenue that's coming in the bread space, which, again, just like the FedEx space, that's one of the big, pros, is that it makes it very easy to verify to the dollar that revenue piece, with the exception of some of the cash stops, but that's going to be counted on top, over and above extra revenue when you're vetting that. And again, that's, stuff that our team can help with. Another thing to keep in mind is that this space is still, further back in terms of scaling. And so as you guys are looking at getting into this space, I think that's what creates a lot of the opportunity in the bread space, is that most operators are running them as single truck operations, which means, you're not going to come in and find a lot of 10 or 15 truck bread route operations, but it doesn't mean it can't be done. It doesn't mean that there aren't some of those. It's just a scaling process that we're going to see happen, I suspect, over the next, several years in this space. As it transitions to more of a FedEx model, as more savvy investors come in and create that infrastructure in these businesses. And again, companies like Chris's family have been doing that, and have already been kind of breaking the model there, and have seen great success with it. And so again, that's something we're excited about. But the pros there in terms of getting started in the space is that it's much easier to get through the application process. So way less requirements in terms of what it takes to be approved in that space versus the FedEx space. So it's just a much less grueling onboarding experience. And also you're going to get a lot of training and education direct from the bread companies, so that you know how to succeed and how to win in that space. So definitely something that we're excited to also partner with you guys and help bring you through that process if you are interested in the bread space. But let's go ahead now and pick it back up, Chris, on some of the pros of the bread space, and then we'll make sure we leave time for Q&A.
All right, let's get into it. Do you want me to do number 4, or you just want me to go straight into the pros?
No, go straight into the pros.
Let's get it. All right. So now let's get into the money-making things that I love, guys. This is the only place you could sell bread and make bread. There ain't no other place you could do it, I promise, all right?
There it was.
So here's the pros. Here's the things that I love about the bread route space and what you can do with it. The first and foremost is reliable income. I am an entrepreneur since the day I started, and I have never been in a business model that's more beautiful than being in the middle of two giants. Who loves, give me a fire emoji in the chat if you love to make money between two giants. I got Walmart over here, and I have Bimbo Bakeries, the #1 bakery in the world. And then it's little old me and my family making money between these two whales. Give me some fire emojis in the chat if you know what I'm talking about here. This is called reliable income, guys. Everybody needs bread. Everybody eats bread. You guys remember the pandemic? Remember how the whole world, nobody was making money? Well, let me tell you something. Me and my dad were making a lot of money, guys. Our shelves, we couldn't keep the product on the shelf. There was two things missing in every single grocery store, and that was toilet paper and bread, family. Toilet paper and bread. So if you don't, we don't have toilet paper routes yet, but we do have bread routes right now. So, so please understand that when it comes to reliable income, there is no position that is better than these two giants. Walmart has been around 100 years. Bimbo Bakeries has been around 100 years. These are 100-year-old companies that are doing business in the billions of dollars. And we get to facilitate that business. We get to be in the middle of that transaction and make pennies on the dollar for every dollar they're marketing and selling for us. I just don't know any other business model that allows you to make this much money in the middle of these type of giants. So that's the first thing. You're going to make money because you're in the middle of two giants that are already making money. The second piece is you're not only in the middle of these two giants, you're in the industry that everybody partakes in. I mean, if you don't eat bread, I mean, one out of 10 people might not eat bread, guys. 1 out of 10. I don't know. Let's do it quick. There's 56 people on here. Who doesn't eat bread? I see Melanie Pellegrino said, I don't eat bread. But you know what she said? She eats English muffins, guys. I'm sorry to tell you guys, that's bread. Okay? I'm sorry to tell you guys, we sell that too. If it has flour or any type of wheat or honey stuff in there, we sell it, all right? We sell it and we make money off of every single dollar that is made through those products. So understand that whether you're eating pita bread, hamburger buns, tortillas, chips, snacks, I'm making money with every sale, guys. Independent drivers, independent owners are making money right now every time you buy something, whether it's from a grocery store, a deli, or a big box store. So the consistency of the revenue is everlasting. There's always going to be consistency there. If you know how to treat your customers right, you know how to keep that shelf stocked and full with fresh product, there's always going to be opportunity to make more money because there's always people buying more bread. All right. The next piece is established customer base. Minimal marketing required. We already talked about that. You think I got to go and try to compete with Walmart's marketing? I'm not trying to compete with Walmart's marketing. They're already the biggest and the best in the world. 90% of America lives 10 minutes from a Walmart. I don't have to try to compete and recreate the wheel of marketing to sell my product. No, it's already in the biggest retail stores in the world. All I got to do is go in there and properly retail it. Make sure that I have the right relationships to get me in the front of the store, to get me in the front sections so that when my sale goes on, I can get a whole pallet of bread in there and sell out. That's what we try to do when it comes to scaling and growing these opportunities. So that's on the reliable income part. You're going to be with the biggest brands in the world. You're going to have the consistency of an amazing product, which is bread. It's a consumable, guys. A consumable product means they need to buy it every single week because they consumed it. And there's nothing, I don't know. FedEx is amazing because, you know, they're consuming the boxes, they're opening it, and then they order a new box. But this is so consistent that you know this person buys this white loaf every single Tuesday. That I see the same customer, the same little old lady, every single Tuesday at 7 o'clock in the morning. She's buying the same white loaf. She's been buying it for 25 years, guys. You think she's going to change it up on year 86? I don't think so. I think we're good. All right. So really understand that this is consistency at its finest. All right. Next, we're going to go into simple operations. I mean, I'm going to be honest. My dad is not the smartest guy in the toolbox. All right. I love my father. He is a genius when it comes to this bread stuff, but he didn't graduate from high school. He didn't graduate from college. He just is good with numbers and is good at retailing. He's good at placing things and understanding the numbers, understanding how to make money. So you don't need a college degree. You don't need to be somebody who's next level of, Annalee went to school. She got the big degrees. Us basic people over here, we just like to understand how to deliver stuff and make money. If you could deliver stuff and make money, if you could do Uber, you could do this. Okay? If you could do DoorDash, you could do this. It's that simple. Okay? So simple operations, low repair. There's very little maintenance. You buy a good truck, you're going to have to do very basic maintenance, oil changes, brake repairs, tires, simple stuff like that. But if you got a good truck, for the most part, you shouldn't have to do any very major upgrades as far as transmission or engine. That only comes around once every 3 to 5 years, maybe, if that. Okay. So for the most part, it's very low maintenance stuff that you have to deal with. Like I said, oil changes, tires, random light bulbs, things of that nature, usually under $100 to $200 from the maintenance perspective. We do low mileage, so it's very different than FedEx, where you're doing hundreds of miles a day. On average, most routes is going to be less than 100 miles. So that means you're going out, you're doing 5 or 10 stops, and you're coming right back to your parking spot. So it's not like thousands of stops and that constant wear and tear on the vehicle. We don't have none of that. Also, larger pool of drivers allowed, as background checks are not required. So this is one of the big things that I was hearing Annalee tell me about the FedEx space. Like, you guys, basically, it sounds like your drivers have to sign up for an FBI background check at like, if they're going to go get, access to the White House or something. We don't deal with that. Like, our guys, they can come in literally, if they have a good driver's license, they're responsible enough that we trust them in that vehicle, then we'll put them on that road and they're ready to go and make money for us. So that is such a big difference than I got to get this guy approved through 16 different background checks. We don't have to deal with none of that. So if you guys are tired of that, maybe you had a good employee, maybe you had somebody who was a great, excellent worker, but they didn't meet these requirements from FedEx. This is the opportunity now. You can place them over here and help them grow and blow up this other business for you. Because that's what we like to do is we like to put these valuable players, these winners, into there and just kind of let them do their own thing, So that's from that piece. Then you got no standardized safety requirements. We talked about that. So because it's your own DOT number, because it's your own business, you set the standards. So there's no FedEx big brother telling you it needs to be like this. They need to wear a helmet every time they walk in the depot. No, that doesn't matter. We make the rules as far as our business and how it works. So that gives a lot more freedom of what we can do there. And then last, we got flexible work days. Start early, but they don't necessarily need to run every day. So this is a really cool part. So when you really start to hone in on your business and understand the operations, you can actually, relocate and rearrange the way you do things, right? So for example, for some of our routes, you're supposed to go to the depot or the terminal 5 times a week, every single day. Monday, Tuesday, we're off Wednesday, but we go Friday and Saturday, right? Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That's 5 days. That's the way it's supposed to go. But what we realize is, hey, we don't have to go all 5 days because we're paying these extra tolls. So we're paying $300, $400 a month in tolls. Then we were going back for no real reason because we can actually take on our truck enough for 2 days of load. So instead of going there 5 times a week, we started going only 3 times a week. So that lowered our gas costs and it lowered our tolls costs. So now we're saving more money and making more money because we're still selling the same amount of product. The only difference is instead of having 1,000 come this day and 1,000 come this day, we had 2,000 come the first day. And then we didn't have to go the second day. So simple things like that, you can rearrange and make a flexible work schedule for both for you, both for your clients, and for your employee. So you want to make that nice balanced schedule for everybody to win. That's on the simple operations piece. Annalee, you want me to keep going, or you want to take a second right there?
Oh, that's perfect. And then the last part, and this is the one I definitely want to spend just a couple minutes, and I know I want to leave lots of time for questions, but one of the things that I'm excited about in the bread space that is something that isn't really on the table for us in the FedEx space is that you have that consistent, reliable revenue stream that Chris is talking about, but you actually have the ability to drive revenue in the bread space, which is not something that's on our side in the FedEx space. What we get is what we get. And for those of us that have seen, volume changes, right, even in the last year, especially in some of that volume decline, it can be really frustrating when you have the resources, you have the drivers, you have the motivation, but the volume isn't there. In the bread space, incredibly recession resistant industry, but also something where you can get out there and drive that revenue. And so that is one of the things I really wanted to highlight. So Chris, just give us a little bit of an idea of what to think about in terms of revenue growth, and then we'll go into the Q&A.
So for growth opportunities and revenue growth, it's a lot of different ways we can do it. We're going to just cover a couple of them right now. So first you can grow by adding product lines and new stores/accounts within your territory. So let's just use an example. We're here in Tennessee right now. I can buy this Tennessee territory, this zip code or this area around me, and they'll give me a certain amount of stops that are already baked into that contract. So that might be the local Walmart, the local Publix or Kroger's or Stop and Shop, any of those big box stores. I will be buying that contract for this area. But now let's say that at the current rate with that current contract, I'm only making $10,000 a week. I'm only selling in volume $10,000 a week, and I want to increase that opportunity. I want to make more money. I want to make $12,000 a week. I want to make $15,000 a week. How would I do that? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at what are the in my territory, what are the closest stops that I can buy that are next to me that will increase that revenue. So now they might be a Walmart that's right next to my stops. Like my stops are right here, and the Walmart is literally right around the corner, one stop away, one light away, one block away. There's an extra Walmart right there. So I can actually reach out to the guy who owns that other territory and say, hey, Steve, I'm interested in buying just that one stop, that one Walmart that's really close to my territory. And that one Walmart could be an extra $3,000, $5,000 a week. So Steve might say, hey, I'm okay with giving it to you, but it's going to cost you $50,000, $100,000. And I can now, as a business owner, I can buy that, bring that into my other existing territory. And now I just raised my business by 3 to 5K per week, which now raises my multiple by the same amount. So that's one simple thing of just buying a store. The other piece is adding a product line. So now Bimbo is a huge bakery, and we have lots of different products, and a lot of the same route drivers are going to the same stores. So I can actually say, okay, I'm selling Arnold bread as an example, which is one of our premium products. I'm selling Arnold bread, but this guy who's coming from the same company as me, Bimbo, he's selling Sara Lee. And I'm going to say, hey, sir, you come into all the same spots as me. I got a truck. I got a driver. We're already doing the same stops. What, can I buy this route off of you? Can I buy this product line off of you? So now on my Arnold truck, I can add in another product line, which is Sara Lee. So now instead of me just going to the store and having one section for Arnold, now I got 2 or 3 sections because I bought these other product lines. So in one store, now we can have 3 to 5 different products instead of just one. So that's another way to expand and grow your revenues in this territory. The next piece is significant revenue opportunities in many markets. So because this is a global product, this is a national company, you can literally go and once you understand the business model, you can do this anywhere. So I've literally gone from doing routes in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, to Georgia, to I've seen routes in California. We've seen people that learn how to do routes in New York, then they go move to Florida, buy routes. You can do this all over the world, all over the country. As long as you understand the business model, understand the logistics side of it, and understand how to make more money out of it, anywhere in the world, this model applies. Then you got cash stops, immediate payment. So this is one of the things I started off the conversation with before is like, there's nothing better in business than, hey, I'm going into work today and I don't have no money in my pocket and I leave with $1,000 clean because I worked hard. That's the most beautiful experience as an entrepreneur. I don't know if anybody else feels me on that, but like when you go out there and you're like, hey, I don't know where the money's going to come from, but then you worked and at the end of the day, you got that payment and it feels like, damn, this is what a hard day's work is worth. And that feels really good. That's one thing that we always get that type of experience in the cash bread spot, because we'll go do those early morning stores, those big boxes, but usually we try to end the day with at least 1 or 2 cash stops so then we could get that extra $100, $200 of cash money in our pocket or our employee's pocket. And the cool part about that is if the employee's collecting this $100, $200 a day, by the end of the week, he's paid out from the cash stops. That means me and my dad get to keep all of the big box money check that's coming in. Okay, so this is all part of understanding how to make that money quickly. The last piece is multiple peaks throughout the year with holidays. So this is cool because if you understand the holidays that are coming up, if you understand, hey, it's July 4th weekend, there's going to be a huge sale on buns, then you want to be stocked up. You want to have, tens of thousands of bread loaves extra so that you can really pound the ground and get all those sales for that July 4th weekend. So July 4th weekend, holidays, you got the dinner rolls, you got stuffing, you got every single season there's a specific type of product that goes for that season. So you want to always be aware and ahead of that, because that gives you the opportunity to make more money than the next. If we know that for Thanksgiving, people are going to be ordering stuffing, then we want to double down and order a lot of stuffing for that season. See what I'm saying? If you're not aware of this, you might not be ordering because that never sells throughout the rest of the year. So you don't order it. Now you lost out on tens of thousands of sales throughout that entire month. Okay. So that's another piece. And then the last piece here is easy to get started. Bread companies. You going to go in?
Oh, we already did this one. I did this before we jumped in.
Okay, perfect. So I'm good.
I know you were rolling. That was so much. This was so much good content. Thank you, Chris. I want to make sure that we have time to do Q&A. And so I want to leave a few minutes for that. But also, very importantly, before we jump into the Q&A is, Chris, I've got to know, when you and Charlotte go to the grocery store, what kind of bread do you buy?
So my favorite bread is artisanal whites.
Artisanal white. Okay, that's a strong opener. I have like a little confession that I'm going to share here that I'm only going to share with my webinar people because I love you. I am very much still a bunny bread buyer.
A what?
A bunny bread buyer.
What's a bunny bread?
You don't know what bunny bread? That's what I said. Bunny bread. Are you kidding me? You don't know what bunny bread is? Okay, well, it's like the cheapest enriched white flour bread you could possibly buy, but it's like so soft, and I love bunny bread, so it's what I'm gonna buy when I am gonna go. I don't buy a ton of bread, but if I do love bunny bread. So we're gonna jump in, you guys, and do some questions. So I'm ready to go ahead and kick it right off. So the first thing I want to talk about, and this is going to lead me to answer a couple people that are really asking this question. So we're going to start with Melanie Pellegrino. She said, as Chris pointed out, doesn't eat bread, but she loves English muffins. We definitely delivered some English muffins when I rode along on a bread route with Chris, so know a lot about that. Also, shout out Melanie. Yes, she's commenting on my earrings. These were a present from Melanie. I love these earrings. I wear them all the time. Thank you for the earrings, Melanie. She makes beautiful jewelry. And the last part I want to talk about is, so her question is, what is the typical profit margin on a bread route? I want to expand this question a little bit, actually, because I've got a couple people asking this, and I expected we might have some questions around this. So I'm going to give you guys just a quick financial model of a typical bread route. And I think that's going to answer some important questions, because one of the big considerations is a lot of these businesses are still single truck operations. So if you're looking at evaluating one and potentially purchasing one, you've got to understand the difference between whether you are operating the business yourself or whether you're going to employ a driver because you have a goal of scaling it, or you've got other businesses you're running as well. And so an average bread route, single route, is going to throw off between $500,000 and $600,000 of gross product sales. Okay, so that's actual product sales of bread. The important piece there is that the net revenue to the operator on that $500,000 to $600,000 of gross sales is about $100,000 to $150,000 per route. If you guys remember, in the FedEx space, right, that's exactly the same. So we would typically expect a FedEx route to throw off between $100,000 and $150,000 of revenue per route. Right? You bake down, you've got your wages, you've got payroll taxes, workers' comp, gas, repair and maintenance, insurance, some administrative fees. But remember, a lot of these expenses are actually quite a bit cheaper in the bread space, especially right now with the lack of infrastructure, but also because of the low mileage, low wear and tear. They're not having to do quite as much burn in terms of the fleet vehicle assets the way that the FedEx contractors are. So what we see on average is that then leftover is between $30,000 to $50,000 on average of profit per route, right? So, net margin on the net revenue is significant. That's, 30 to 50,000 or 30 to 50%, margin on that net revenue. So that is really a significant number when you look at just, the business as a whole. Again, whether you're looking at the gross or the net sales there, that's important to understand. If you are going to operate the business yourself, right, you're not having to pay that $50,000 of employee wages in that structure, right? So now you're netting, $90,000 to over $100,000. So you'll see bread route operators talking about making a six-figure income from running that route. That's absolutely viable. especially as the operator, right? If you back yourself out on that one route, again, it's still a significant profit margin. And that's where we want to talk about scaling and creating a portfolio with a couple of routes to create those multi-six-figure income streams. So I wanted to make sure that we talked a little bit about that from a financial model perspective. Next question that I want to jump over to is David Branch, who said when he buys bread, he is a Pepperidge Farm cinnamon raisin bread guy. Great choice. Love that for the mornings. And his question, Chris, is how specifically do you train your drivers to safely operate bread trucks? Can you talk about that? You maybe talk about industry standard and then also like how to do it if you're going to do it.
Yep. So from a safety perspective, our main thing is making sure that they're not too tired because they're working at late nights, right? So they're going to be up at night. They're going to be driving in the middle of the dark and all this type of stuff. So one is making sure that they're getting good night rest and are able to perform accurately. So like if they're tired, if they're sleepy, if there's any situation where we feel like it's better for them to call one of us and call out. I'd rather them call out than go out there tired and crash and do something bad on a safety level. So that's the number one first thing, because that's the biggest thing you see in the night shift is people falling asleep and crashing, okay? So that's going to be the first thing that I do on a safety level. Then the second thing is going to be more on the equipment level. So I'm trying to watch out to make sure that my employees aren't hurting their backs because it's such a heavy lift game. If there's tools and things that we can use, like we have different hooks and things that we use to like move around the pallets and move around the bread, things of that nature. So if they don't have that hook, then they would be really straining their back to try to move all of these heavy loads of product that could cause them to hurt their back and then they can't come into work. So we're looking out for those type of tools. Also ramps. So like ramps to bring the bread down from the truck to load the bread or the trays into the truck. If you don't have ramps, then they're going to be lifting all these things manually. Again, it could hurt their back, hurt their shoulders, hurt their legs, any of those things. There's very easily to get injured from a physical perspective, just like in a construction site. You're doing a lot of moving. It's almost as intense as a sport as far as the physicality of it all, because you're going through it all day. You're moving in and out, boxes, trucks, all this stuff. You're going into ramps, you're going into all these things. So if you don't have the proper equipment to make their life as easy as possible, then it would cause a lot of consistent damage to whatever the problem that you haven't solved is. Even something as simple as some vacations I've worked with trucks and the back door is not easy to pull down. So it could be hard to pull down. Well, that's not a big deal if you're only lifting that door one time. But if I'm doing it 25 times a day, now my back could get sprained trying to drag this thing down. And now I can't lift the bread. And now I can't come into work. And now the client or the customer is not happy. So we try to avoid all those things by really having a lot of tools and things to help improve the process to make it easier for them.
Yeah. One clarifying question from the financial conversation earlier, Neil Cohen, who said he actually doesn't have a specific brand loyalty. He likes to mix it up and doesn't always stick to any one at the grocery store. I can appreciate that. I also like to try different things at the grocery store there too. But two things, Chris. One, can you just kind of speak to from your experience in your family's business, that financial model that I outlined, has that been pretty consistent to what y'all have seen and experienced as well historically, like over, the past year? Does that feel pretty consistent to
everything you said was right on par with as far as how we run our business.
And then my next question is from a leverage perspective. Can you talk a little bit about financing options of what you've seen in the space? And I'm happy to elaborate too on some of the research we've been doing as partners we've worked with too.
So depending on if you already have a relationship with the actual owners of that route. So like, for example, a lot of the routes that my dad has purchased have been through personal relationships that he already had with these owners. So they were trying to retire. They've already been in the business 20 years. They've known my dad for 20 years. He's been in the depot. He's been working in the company, having a route. They already know who and what he's about. So they trust him to say, hey, I'm trying to get out the business. Are you willing to take over? You know what I'm saying? That's the first step right there. With that being said, when they're coming to him, they obviously know my dad has a little bit of money to put up front that we can put down. That usually comes down to like 20% or so of the total price. So if it's a $200,000 route, you might be putting down 20,000, 40,000, whatever that would be, right? So I'm looking at that as the first number of how much do I have to put down to make this person feel comfortable that I'm serious. So that's the first number we're looking at. And the second number we're looking at is, are they going to let me finance everything through them, or will I have to go through the bank? And if I'm going through the bank, Bimbo or any of the bakeries, they have their partnership institutions that lend out money. The interest rate is a little bit higher, but it's still going to allow you to work it off because it's directly with them. So every week, they're just taking out whatever your loan amount is out of your paycheck. So instead of you having to even worry about sending them the money, they're just going to take it out directly out of whatever you ordered for that week. So that's the cool part about getting the financing directly from the company. Now, depending if you're getting the truck, if you're getting all the other things that come with the business, like if they're going to give you an employee and all that sort of stuff. Usually the way we do it, we usually get the truck and we usually don't get an employee. So you get the route and you get the truck, but no employee. And then what we would do is we would try to finance a certain percentage. So besides the down payment that we're getting, we're trying to finance as well a percentage from the owner. Hey, can you give me 50,000, 100,000 from you that I don't need to take out a loan on that amount. So I can pay you directly. So I'll pay you 300 a week or 200 a week on top of whatever I'm paying my loan over here. So then that way I don't have to pay that higher interest rate to the loan and to the bank, because you know I'm taking over your business. You obviously chose me because you know that I'm trustworthy and we're building a relationship. So now you get that quote unquote tax-free retirement money from me as well. So that's where the opportunity from an owner's financing and like kind of creative financing between the down payment, the owner's financing, as well as the bank financing.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of cash seller financing in this space, and actually some financing, like Chris mentioned, sometimes at a high interest rate, though, directly through the bakeries. But I was also going to say we are working with a couple SBA lenders as well to try to make that an option in the bread space, or some of the projects we've got actively working right now as well. Next question I wanted to jump down to is from Eric Caltabano, who said that he is a Dave's Killer Bread Everything Bagel guy, which this is actually really funny. I have to tell you, I haven't told you this yet, Chris, but so I've heard it's a big hot topic in the bread space, right? That Dave's Killer Bread has kind of been, making a big splash, and so a little controversial on, people that have their brand loyalties, and it's been making a splash. So I went and actually bought some Dave's Killer Bread this week, Chris. So I did, because I wanted to know what it was like and I wanted to try it. Like, candidly, I wasn't that impressed, but it's like really healthy bread. I think it tastes like really healthy. And so again, I'm a bunny bread eater. So you could imagine for me, like the white bread was like high, very grainy. I wasn't super excited there, but personal, that was my personal read on it, but that I had to tell you that. So Eric's question, if you could talk a little about this. So he's looking at purchasing a bread route. And basically, owner is driving that profit, but he's looking at putting a driver in place instead. Can you talk a little bit, Chris, about recruiting in the bread space? How do you find the right drivers? How do you find employees for the bread routes?
So one of the best places to start looking for drivers is definitely going to be Bright Flag, as you guys know. We got Bright Flag right here in-house. So if you need drivers, please tap in with Grace at Bright Flag so you can get right. Now, if you're not tapping in with the greatest and the best and you're trying to do the second tier option, then of course you can go and look at local stores and people that are already in those stores. So a great place for me and my dad to always find drivers. We like to find the people that are already working in the supermarkets. If they're working in the supermarkets, and especially if they're working the overnight shift, then we know they're pretty close to our target demographic as far as they could wake up early, they're responsible enough to be there on time, and they show consistency because every time we've gone to the store, we've seen them there. So based on those three things, and usually they're getting paid a lot less than what we would pay them if they came and worked for us. So it's an easy thing for us to quote unquote poach those guys for our benefit. So that's kind of going to be where I would look for first, is looking for people in the stores and training them to be route operators. And the other option is also talking to the receivers and the other drivers in your depot and letting them know, putting out the word, hey, the receiver sees hundreds of drivers every day. So they're seeing the milk guy, the Coca-Cola guy, the beer guy, the water, the chips. the snacks. They're seeing hundreds of drivers a day. So if you have identified and told them, hey, if you got a good relationship with that guy, he could put out the word for you. And now if you're doing that at 5, 6, 7 different stores, that's 700 potential drivers in a day that could hear about the opportunity.
That's right. One other one that I would love for us to have a chance to talk about, Chris, is let's see if you could talk a little on kind of what is it. Oh, sorry, what is that question? Do you have the ability? I can't see the who submitted this one, but I think it's a good question. So can you deliver products from suppliers other than the bakeries? Like basically, can you dual utilize vehicles, Chris, in the space, or can you just talk about the contractual requirements there?
Yeah, so from a contract perspective, every business will need its own truck. So if I got a Pepperidge Farm route and I got a Bimbo route, I can't even though they're both in the same stops, I can't put Pepperidge Farm on my truck and go to the depot and pick up from both with one truck. That's not going to happen. So both of them would say that's not allowed in the contract. So you only deliver what's from that bakery.
Perfect. And I know we're already at 4:30, but I wanted to just kind of try to knock out 2 more questions really fast. Robert Griffin, also a Killer Dave's Bagels fan, wants to know, can you just talk a little bit also, so one of the things in the FedEx space, Chris, is that occasionally open CSAs will post where basically you can get a business that maybe another contractor has lost. And Derek was asking me about this as well in the question. So is there ever a situation where an existing bread route operator maybe passes away, or they fail, or lose the routes in some way, and that gets basically given to other bread route operators, or do you always have to acquire?
Yep. So that is a way as far as I know you talk about contingencies. So like taking over these type of routes that someone messed up or anything like that. There is opportunities for that. But again, because the space is so owner operated, it's very few owners that can actually take advantage of that opportunity, because they usually the ones driving the truck. So if they're driving the truck, they can't stop doing their route to go take on the other route that's not doing good, because then their route is going to do bad and then they're going to lose their route. So there's no real benefit of trying to do that. So that's where, like, for example, myself and my dad will get those type of calls. Hey, we just lost a driver over here, and can one of your drivers go? If we have a spare driver and we have the capacity, then we might go have that driver go out there. Now, the way it works from the company perspective is they'll let you run the route for a certain amount of time. And then basically, if you're doing a good job, they'll give you first refusal to buy it. So then you get that option to buy it. And usually the company is selling it at a lower market rate than the actual owners would sell it from a regular street value market price. So that gives you the opportunity to get in there, get the opportunity to get the first right to buy it at the cheaper price. So that's the benefit of getting that opportunity.
Yeah. And then last one, this is actually a FedEx question, but I just want to make sure that we're helpful here. And again, this is an anonymous submission, but they did say that they're on Artisano bread purchasers. And so last thing here, they're going through a FedEx payroll audit and didn't anticipate any concerns, but they've been advised by ADP that if there are concerns, they may have requirements from FedEx on which payroll services they can use. They're wanting to switch to NetChecks, and just wanted to see what was possible. So the bottom line I just wanted to point out there is that you can. So essentially the way that FedEx has that set up is if you do get flagged in the audit, they're going to implement requirements on your payroll solution. And so ADP and Paychex are the 2 pre-approved vendors through FedEx that are definitely going to process compliant. You can use NetChecks. You can use any other payroll processor. There's just a vetting verification process. There's a couple extra steps they're going to require you to do through NetChecks to show NetChecks is verifying to FedEx that you are following those compliant payroll practices. So again, that's only going to happen if you failed an audit, that they're going to take that step with NetChecks, but there's absolutely an easy way to fix for that. So you can use NetChecks. But if you don't have any audit flags, then you can use it without having to take that extra verification step. So just wanted to make sure we could answer that one as well for you guys to help you with that audit. So that's what we're going to cover.
From the bread perspective, though, there's no we pay cash, or we pay through Zelle, Cash App, Apple Pay. We pay however the money came in, that's how we pay. But we also like to put our most of our employees are 1099. So that's going to be the average is 1099 employee, and they're getting paid their weekly rate, $800 to $1,000 a week. And that's pretty much like, you can put that through ADP if you want to do it, like as an ADP payroll, 1099. I have some contractors that I do that through ADP, and then I have some other ones that we just send them the Zelle or the payment, and we just identify it for our tax purposes and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's definitely, again, still an evolving space there administratively. So I appreciate all of you guys being here so much this week. Chris, thank you so much for being here to talk about bread. This was awesome. It was a great introduction. Again, we have our first bread listings on the website this week, you guys. So please check those out. Really excited. And we've got a lot of fun stuff launching over the next few weeks in the bread space as well. So it was fun to be with you guys again. And
give me some bread emojis in the chat, guys. Some bread emojis.
Awesome. Thank you guys. And we will see you all same time, same place next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.